Lead on the baseline pass to Smith. Way short. Here's DeRozan. Fox running the floor. Lobs it up. De'Aaron! Flying private!
The Sacramento Kings are 9-12. They are 12th in the West and 2.5 games out of the play-in. They can't shoot, can't defend, can't close out games. They're bottom 5 in the league in three-point shooting and three-point defense. And what's crazy is that they're 10th in offensive rating and 16th in defensive rating, which puts them at 16th in the league in net rating, which is very average and in my opinion proves how bad they've been at closing out games, because with a record like this, you'd expect those numbers to be much worse. But regardless, the fact remains, the Kings have been bad. Keegan Murray is really struggling with his shot and honestly has just been bad on the offensive side of the floor in general. He looks lost at times and just overall does not seem to be playing with a ton of confidence. Kevin Huerter has been awful, and it seems like he may have already played himself out of the rotation. The bench unit has not been the strength that I thought it could be coming into the season. Keon and McLaughlin have been solid but inconsistent. Obviously, Monk has been great, but he looks like he'll be a starter for the time being to see if he can add a spark to the starting unit. Isaac Jones has been contributing lately, and there's a chance the Kings could have something there, but the fact that he has seen significant minutes just goes to show how desperate the Kings are for wing depth and any resemblance of rim protection. I hope Jones pans out. I really do. I love his game and his energy, and I mean, the more guys we can have on this team that contribute while not making a ton of money is only going to help us, especially with Fox's potential Supermax extension looming in the near future. Speaking of Fox, he's been playing some amazing basketball, basically averaging 28, 5, and 5 with 1.6 steals per game as well. Domas is having a great year, but I think his defensive limitations have been getting exposed. But regardless, he's still averaging 21, 13, and 6 on really good efficiency. DeMar has honestly been really good too. He just hasn't been able to stay healthy, which is a little concerning seeing as he's 35 now. But when he is on the floor, he's averaging 23, 4, and 4 with 1.6 steals per game as well. Monk has been awesome, like I mentioned, especially in the last few games, though. He almost had a 30-point triple-double against the Timberwolves, put up 29 and 9 against the Blazers, and then had 19, 7, and 6 against the Spurs. On the year, he's averaging 15, 4, and 4, and he's finally getting his shooting percentages up after a rough start to the year. So there's definitely some good things going on in Sacktown. The really concerning part, though, is that our 4 best players are all playing well, and we're still not winning. But the biggest reason, at least in my opinion, that the Kings are 9-12 right now is not because of any one player's struggles. They aren't playing bad because of the players that they have, but because of the players that they don't have. And I know that sounds dumb. I get it. But what I'm trying to say is that it's not a skill or like a talent issue. It's a roster construction issue. The Kings have one real wing. Sorry, Isaac Jones and Jay Crowder. But it's true. And I guess sorry, Doug McDermott as well. But Keegan Murray is the lone wing on this Kings team, and he can't hit a 3 right now. So that's not great. And real quick, I do want to go down a bit of a rabbit hole in relation to Keegan Murray and his poor shooting. Keegan Murray, and Fox too, actually, they lead the league in minutes played. Keegan is also second in the league in off-ball chaser defense, meaning he's chasing dudes all around the court all game long. And if you watch the Kings, which I'd assume most of you do, I mean, you can see it. He's running for his damn life. And then Kings fans wonder why he has no legs on offense. And that's something that has to be addressed by the coaching staff. Our starting rotation is playing way too many minutes. But, I mean, given the injuries and lack of production from pretty much everyone else, they're kind of forced to play those guys a ton of minutes. And, as far as injuries go, I think part of the reason why we're seeing more injuries this year as opposed to the last couple years is because Mike Brown is running these guys ragged. Here's the injuries we've had so far this season. Fox broke his finger or hand or whatever, but, he's playing through it and playing well. Sabonis has had back tightness. He's missed a couple games. DeRozan has had back inflammation and missed a few games. Monk sprained his ankle and missed a couple weeks. Trey Lyles is out for a while with a calf strain. Devin Carter is obviously out with his shoulder issue and surgery and all of that. Not to mention, Orlando Robinson sprained his MCL and Mason Jones strained his hamstring. So there's been a lot of moving pieces, a lot of different lineups and rotations. The guys we thought we could rely on to shoot the ball aren't hitting their shots. I mean, these are hard things to deal with and still win. The Kings also don't have a single rim protector aside from Alex Len, but honestly, that doesn't really count because he doesn't play every game. And right now, The Kings can't shoot either. I know I've said that like 5 times. Honestly, I think that's been their biggest issue. It's supposed to be like an offensive juggernaut of a team, and it just hasn't been that because we're near the bottom of the league in three-point shooting. But yeah, man, I guess to summarize, the Kings need length, height, athleticism, defense, shooting, and I'm probably forgetting some stuff. But even just that is a lot. And I don't think this is something where just like one player comes in and fixes these things. And honestly, 2 or 3 players might not even fix it. But I think the top choices for the Kings, if they were to make a move this season, which I think they should, would be Cam Johnson and Dorian Finney-Smith. And as the trade deadline approaches, I'll be making some trade videos. But for right now, I don't really feel like getting into all of that. Our needs as a team have been pretty obvious for some time now, and they have yet to be addressed. You and I and many others have hit the trade machine hard. We've made and read about and analyzed countless trade ideas, and none of them have come to fruition. So I'm not going to waste my time with hypotheticals, at least right now. I'll waste my time and yours in the coming weeks and months. But for right now, all I'll say is the Kings should go out and get Cam Johnson and Dorian Finney-Smith. And I guess while we're on the subject of potential trades, I just wanted to say the people who are saying that we should blow up the team, sell Fox for picks, get rid of Keegan, fire Mike Brown, yada, yada, those people are idiots, to put it nicely. And let me explain why. First of all, we just extended Mike Brown like 3 months ago, so we're not going to just get rid of him a quarter of the way through the season. We also extended Domas, so he's not going anywhere. Fox is just entering his prime. He's playing the best ball of his career, and he's expressed interest in staying in Sacramento. Obviously, the one caveat being the Kings have to be good, or he'll want out. So the Kings are going to do everything in their power to be good. I don't know of like a player that we could trade him for that would be any better. You would think they'd be cheaper and probably younger, but you're not going to get a top 5 guard, or let alone a top 10 or maybe even 15 guard for De'Aaron Fox, which means you'd be getting picks, which, one, you'd be relying on the Kings to hit on those draft picks, which is obviously asking a lot, even though we have drafted some good players in recent years. But that would also mean we're rebuilding, and ownership and the front office have said they want to win now. And that was proven by the DeRozan trade, which, by the way, is another piece in this puzzle. We just signed him to a 3-year deal. So, what the fuck would we even do with him? But anyway, the main point here is the Kings are not going to rebuild. This is the best roster the Kings have had since the Chris Webber, Mike Bibby days. They're not just going to give up on it after a bad start to the season. And you could say, well, the Kings lost in the first round of the playoffs 2 years ago. They lost in the play-in last year. And they have a losing record a quarter of the way through this season. And yeah, that is true. But the thing is, that's still better than anything we've seen from this franchise in 20 years. And we have 3 or 4 players currently in their primes on multi-year deals. They're going to try and make this work. They're not going to trade Keegan. His value is at an all-time low right now anyway. Why the fuck would we sell low on our former 4th overall pick, who, by the way, is still a net positive on the basketball court because he's such a good defender. He has a net rating of plus 3.7. So he's playing the worst basketball of his career, at least according to people on Twitter, and he's still a net positive, and he's still only in his 3rd year, and he's still our only fucking wing. Who the hell would we even trade him for? If we can get Franz Wagner for him, then sure, pull the trigger. But seriously, who the fuck is even out there that would fit this team any better than he does and would be undeniably better? And go ahead, try adding Kevin Huerter and Trey Lyles and some picks to the deal. Who does that get you? Seriously, I'm asking, who does that get you? Because I don't know. I get it looks bad right now, but brother, it was literally so much worse not even 3 years ago. Everybody just needs to take a deep breath. And it's not like we're losing by 30 points every game, we've been competitive in most of our games this year. And also, look around the league. There's a ton of really good players who are really struggling right now. This isn't just a Kings problem. Do the Kings have problems? Absolutely. I went over those already, though, so I'm not going to do it again. But, yes, this is a flawed team. But show me a team who isn't. The Celtics don't count. And, while the Thunder are the best in the West, it's not like they're running away with it. So I don't know, man. I think the Kings are going to keep trying to build around the core of Fox, Sabonis, Monk, and DeRozan. And I think Keegan is a part of that, too. But with that said, I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of try and see what his value is on the market right now. But I do think he is somebody that they're really high on. And this would be the worst possible time to trade him. I saw a local radio personality, I won't say who, but he basically tweeted about how he thinks the Kings should trade Keegan Murray for Cam Johnson, Brandon Ingram, or Zach LaVine. And his reasoning, which is like whatever, but that would be us selling low and buying high, which is just obviously a really dumb thing to do. But anyway, the thing that I actually had a gripe with was his reasoning behind trading Keegan Murray, which was that desperate times call for desperate measures, and quote, it's about as desperate as it gets right now. How? I don't understand. How are we in a worse position now than we were after trading away Halliburton? How are we in a worse position now than we were when we were wasting the prime years of DeMarcus Cousins or continuously drafting bust after bust after bust after bust? I don't know, man. To me, like, I was way more desperate for success back then. I was desperate for literally any other team to adopt me as a fan. How have we become so ungrateful so quickly? Like, how the fuck are we in a position to be acting spoiled? We made the playoffs 2 years ago, and we're already taking that for granted. After 16 years of not making the playoffs once. But as soon as times get tough, y'all want to take your ball and go home. Do you guys really want to start from scratch after a 9-12 start? Just like that, huh? 20 games after signing our biggest free agent ever? Right after bringing back everybody's favorite king and Malik Monk? After extending the unanimous coach of the year? After extending MVP candidate DeMontis Sabonis? But yeah, no, we should just get rid of everyone that's given us the only glimpse of hope we've had in 20 years. Because we're 3 fucking games below 500. You people are unbelievable. The Canes are closer to being good than they are to being bad. The needs for this team are clear, and they have been for a couple years now. But all we've been getting is like more guards and DeRozan, which I love DeRozan. I think he could fit this team well. My thing is, if we go out and actually try and address those issues, go and get a couple wings like Cam Johnson or DFS or even like John Collins or something. If we do all of that and it still doesn't work, then we can start having these really tough conversations. But until then, I think we're jumping the gun a bit by having those conversations now. Because this team still isn't at its peak form. And our issues and our needs are so obvious that it is something that we can address in the trade market. We haven't done it yet. And if another trade deadline passes and we don't make any moves, then I'm going to be super pissed. And I'm going to question whether Monty's the guy. I'm going to be questioning a lot of things. But I'm hopeful that we're going to make some moves. And I think us starting the year this bad is just added motivation for Monty to go out and swing some deals. But I don't know, until either we add these guys and it doesn't work or we don't add anybody, I'm not going to make a big deal about us being 3 games below 500. We're still in the mix. Anyway, man, thanks for listening to my rant. But go in the comments and tell me why I'm such a dumbass. I'm still trying to figure that out myself. And yeah, go Canes, light the beam.